Welcome back to another workshop build video. Today I'm going to be building shelves along this back wall for my ram pump parts. So let's get started. I have several sheets of this nice plywood that I'm going to be using. Now this one is 8 foot, so I think what I would like to do is come along the back wall and do several 4-foot long shelves across here. And I think what I'm going to do is take a 2x4 and rip it down to 4 foot and in half so that I can mount it to the wall. So the back part of the shelf will be on that lip. So let's do that first. I've ripped a 2x4 in half and then cut it into 4-foot sections. And I'm going to be making this shelf at 1.5 feet off the ground. So I'm going to come up here at 18 inches. And make a couple of marks so that I know where to place this board. Okay. And now I can drill this into place with some 3-inch screws. I'm going to place this at the mark that was made right here. And I do want to be sure these are level with the wall. So that looks pretty good right there. So I'm just going to put some 3-inch screws here. I don't expect there to be tons of weight on this, but I do want it to have enough screws in here to be strong enough. Now I'm just moving up 1 foot from the previous tier here. And then marking that out. Okay. Then I set my board up here at that level and make sure this whole piece leveled out like that. And then I'm just sinking 3 screws in here. Okay. Shelves are moving along pretty quick. One thing I like about these is they're going to be inexpensive. I also cut some boards that were 22.5 inches long to go over here along the wall. And that way there's something for this other edge to be supported by. So just like the other one, other side, I'm getting this leveled and then getting a screw set in there. And that just kind of gives it a little bit more support. Now the supports aren't quite done. I just want to see how well this piece right here will fit in here. Yeah, it's going to be nice. Definitely going to have plenty of room to store ram pump parts. So the next step is to make a support for this other corner over here. Now the goal is to continue some shelves over here as well. So I'm going to be making the support here wide enough that it can support another section of shelves. Now I do want to use my level here and get this level, which is about right there. And this height is going to be 19.25 to get it up to that point. Let's see how well I did here. This to be resting right in the center of this, and we are level. Nice. Alright, so that'll span both sections of this right here. I think what I'm going to do is just put a couple of screws down into this, keep it into place. Well, as you can see, I decided to do some work without you to make sure I was getting things right. And I think I am doing fine here. So I've got another sheet of this plywood cut to 6 feet. And I'm going to plop it up here. And so that looks pretty good. And I've been using my level again here and tape measure to find the length of these legs in here. I'm cutting 2 of them. So I checked for level, which is right there. And this looks like 11 inches here. With that cut, I can come up under here and get this centered and centered. Make sure that's still level. Sure is. Okay. And I want to get a couple of screws into this. Keep it from going anywhere. Now I'm going to come back with some 2-inch screws and make sure everything is fastened to that back board. So far the shelves seem like they're fairly strong. To attach the leg to the previous shelf, I'm just toe screwing in here. So I just push that in a little. Seems to work quite well. Now a couple of these shelves are a little bit different size than the other, but I think I'm gonna be okay with that. Things are really moving along here on this shelf. So to get some dividers in here, I am putting up a tape measure and measuring 8 inches off of the previous board and using 2 marks to match up here so that I can draw a line. Then just taking one of these 2x6 scrap pieces here and matching it up along the line. Then taking some 3-inch screws from the bottom here, like this, push it down, and just doing 2 of these 3-inch screws in here to hold this in place. Now I will come back later with some longer pieces here and fill in this last gap. And I also will probably put some kind of little lip along the front so that the pieces that can roll will have something to catch. Also, everything in the workshop here is going to be painted white, so that also includes these shelves. The scrap 2x6s that I used, of course, are not quite long enough to reach the end of the board here, so I went to the hardware store and bought a few more 2x6s, and I'm just cutting down pieces to fit in here to get to the edge. So this one I need to cut to 8 inches. I managed to get all the compartments in here for the ram pump parts. The last thing I'm going to do construction wise is to get some boards across the front here that will act as kind of a stop to make sure that nothing falls out of the shelf. So 6 1/4 inch. It also makes things look a little prettier. So that's what I'm going to use these small strips of wood for here. This board here is just a 2x4 that at some point down the road I had ripped down for some project, but figure now it's a perfect board for a trim piece. It also has a nice lip in here that will keep some of the parts from rolling out. Well, I realized that I have not swept or cleaned this out yet, and I've already put the edges on here, so looks like it's going to be time for the vacuum cleaner. The same friend that has given me so much stuff already had a few of these buckets of latex paint that had never been opened. This one's a white here. I've got some gray that's going to match well on the outside of the building there. And so I'm trying to stir it up a little bit before I paint these shelves. I would like for everything inside here to be white eventually. I think it really shows a much brighter atmosphere for filming when everything is white. So probably won't be enough with this 5-gallon bucket, but at least I'll have a good start here. I probably should invest in one of those drill paint stirrers. My dad's got one. I could probably just borrow his, but I'm sure it'd be nice to have that at some point down the road. As you can see, the ram pump shells are done and I have the components installed here. So let's take a step back and look at what has been done. It sure is nice to have all these components laid out so I can get to them easily. Now, one thing I've noticed already is that I really should have sanded down these edges. So I may come back at some point later and do that. Just sand down and then repaint so that these edges are not going to be quite so sharp. I like having this lip here on the front. Definitely gives something to stop components from being able to fall out. So that's very nice. Did have one remaining shelf here, so my calculations were correct in the number of component shelves I would need. And I do have to come back and paint some more. Like you can see down under here has not been painted. And whenever I go to paint up here, I'll have to throw something over all the parts to keep them from getting paint on them. And I have to get all the rest of that up there done as well. For the past couple years, these have all been in boxes, and I have not known what components I need to order until I am desperately low. And so it is so nice to have a good visual on what I need to reorder. This was a rather simple but very important build for the workshop here. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you see some obvious issue with my storage here, please let me know. One thing I am considering is some form of tarp or sheet that I can easily place over this whenever I'm running a saw to prevent any dust from getting to the components here. I think that would be very helpful to keep my product clean instead of having to clean it after it's gotten dirty. So definitely something to consider here pretty soon. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.